Imagination Studio presents Confessions of a Teenage Drama Queen by Dyan Sheldon. Read for you by Fiona Gallagher. It is a sad and shocking fact of my young life that my parents named me Mary Elizabeth Cep by mistake. I've known since I was 5 that my true name is Lola. I don't remember where I first heard it, but I loved it immediately. Lola. Lola is romantic and mysterious. It's evocative and resonant. It's unusual, as I am. Mary Elizabeth sounds like the maid in an English drama. Having a generous nature, I can forgive my parents this error, major though it is. I can see that it wasn't really their fault. They both watch PBS a lot. But that doesn't mean that I have to accept their mistake as final. When I become an actor, I'm going to legally change my name to Lola Elspeth Cep, C-E-P, or maybe Lola Elspeth Cep, S-E-P. I haven't made up my mind about the spelling yet. My family, naturally, has always stubbornly refused to call me Lola. Mary's the name on your birth certificate, says my mother, Karen Kapok, and that's the name we're using. My mother calls me the drama queen, though not to my face. Sometimes I hear her on the phone to my dad or her parents. "Oh, the drama queen," she'll say. "This week she seems to be in an Edward Albee play." The twins must hear her, too, because sometimes they do call me drama queen to my face. Not that I'm blaming my siblings for their limitations. Pam and Paula are only 8, and like our mother, they're hopelessly ordinary. Since we have different fathers, I can only assume that my uniqueness is due to some latent gene in the Ceps that skipped about 20 generations till it finally emerged in me. In my family, I'm like a flamingo in a flock of pigeons. Expecting them to understand would be like expecting a cat to understand Hamlet. I mean, really, do tortilla chips fly? Is the moon made of cheese? Anyway, we used to live in New York City in this great old building on the Upper West Side, but last year my mother moved us to a ranch house in the soporific suburb of Dellwood, or as I affectionately call it, Deadwood, New Jersey. New Jersey. At first I thought she must be joking. After I was forced to accept that my mother was grotesquely serious, I consoled myself with the fact that at least she wasn't moving us to Nebraska. You can't even visit New York from Nebraska. My mother says that living in the city is like living on a movie set, not like living in a real town. That's one of the reasons we moved, so we could live in a real town, for the sake of the twins. As far as living in Dellwood is concerned, I'm like a bird in a cage with a good school district. I understood my mother's concern about Pam and Paula, of course. They were only 7 at the time we moved, which is a very impressionable age. But I couldn't see why my mother wouldn't let me stay behind in the city. I could have lived with my dad. He has a spare room, and he lives in the East Village, which is the coolest place in Manhattan, if not in the entire universe. I know I could have talked him into it. He's a lot more malleable than his former wife. But my mother wouldn't hear of it. She has custody, and she's keeping it, though that isn't exactly how she put it. "Your father and I have our differences, but even he doesn't deserve that," was what she said. The solid gold lining in the black thundercloud of moving to Deadwood was that it gave me a chance to recreate myself a little, as all great actors do. Besides raging against the dying of the lights of the city from my life, I now had the opportunity to bring one of those lights with me into the wilderness. Myself, Lola Elspeth Cep. I would be a beacon for all the confused youth of Dellwood who needed reassurance that there was more to living than beer parties and shopping. I would be a source of nourishment to those starving, embryonic souls who were looking for true passion and meaning in their humdrum lives. At last, I could start to be the great actor Lola Cep. A legend was about to be born. In my first year in the clean air and safe streets of Dellwood, 2 more of my mother's reasons for moving, I've met only one truly kindred spirit. That's my best friend, Ella Gerard. There was nothing about Ella to suggest that here was my spiritual kin the first time I saw her. She looked like most of the other girls in my homeroom at Dellwood High, expensively if dully clothed, well-fed, perfectly groomed, their teeth gleaming and their hair bouncing because they used the right toothpaste and shampoo. Although Ella shops in the same stores as most of her classmates, she always goes for what Mrs. Gerard calls the classic look, which means that everyone else dresses like the followers of fashion that they are, and Ella dresses like her mother. That first morning, I sat at the front of the room in my genuine U.S. Army fatigues, dyed purple by my own fair hands, and the Che Guevara t-shirt my dad brought me back from Mexico, listening to the other girls catch up on the summer gossip and sort out who was seeing whom and who was wearing what and when the first big fall party was going to be, feeling like a visitor from Alpha Centauri. Anyway, Ella sat near me in homeroom. The kids in Dellwood not only dress the same and talk the same, when they think, they pretty much think the same too. But I sensed almost immediately that Ella was different in that